This video will introduce the syllabus for History 122, World Civilizations from 1600. As a kind of general guideline for student expectations, students will be expected to be familiar with the syllabus, and this video will be going over the important policies from there, though it would also be good to look over it in its entirety, and it can be found on Blackboard. Students are also expected to check their land or email accounts daily, to not cheat, to be respectful and attentive, and to attend class regularly. And much of the syllabus is just discussing what I mean by each one of these different items. So in regards to attendance, it is important to attend class regularly. This class is based primarily on lectures from class. So, if you don't come to class, you're not going to hear the lectures, you're not going to be ready for the exams. So if you do miss class, it is important to go to tutoring to catch up, but even better is just not to miss class. So I will take attendance every day. Until I get to know everyone's name, I will call attendance, but once I get to know people's names, I'll stop calling attendance, but I will still take attendance. You will probably notice before class I'm marking down things on a piece of paper, or when we're showing a video or something like that. That's me taking attendance without calling it. Now, students have 6 free absences except on test days. If you are not in class, I assume you're using one of your free absences, and I will just mark one down. There's no need to inform me. If you don't say anything, I just say, okay, that person used one of their free absences. What do I mean by free absences? Well, after the 6th one, so starting with the 7th, you would lose 10 points to your professionalism score, which I'll talk more about later. And if you lose all the points for your professionalism score, you would then start losing points to your final exam. So basically, you can miss 6 days for whatever reason without any penalty. Though once you start losing points, you'll lose 10. I grade out of 1,000 points, so you would lose 1% of your grade. It is your responsibility to obtain notes for missed days. I highly recommend going to the tutor. Getting notes from a friend is also good, but I think tutor is better. And just simply looking over the PowerPoint is not sufficient, right? Sometimes people say, oh, I missed class, but don't worry, I'll look at the PowerPoint. Well, the PowerPoint only is kind of a guide for some of the things that are important to discuss, but it's also important to note what I say about the things on the PowerPoint. There are also excused absences. These are given for serious documented medical reasons, death in the immediate family, or other events that have my prior knowledge and approval. So for example, you're part of a Lander sports team. That would be an example of an excused absence, so you still have to give me proof that you're part of the team. Excused absences do not count towards those 6 free absences. You should not be tardy, leave early, or leave and come back, right? Basically, once class starts, you're in class until class is over. The one exception, though, is if you are sick, in which case you should inform me right after class. So, you suddenly feel very ill in class, you have to leave, and then you come back, you're coughing, you need to drink water, something like that. Just tell me immediately after class, oh, I was sick. That's why I had to leave. You don't have to tell me what was wrong. We'll just accept that. Now, you get 2 free incidents of this. So you could be late to class 2 times and it won't hurt your grade at all. But there are a loss of 5 points for each occurrence after the second. There can always be a good reason why someone is late. It may happen twice, but really shouldn't happen more than twice in a semester. Please avoid disrupting the class when you do come in. For example, please take the seat closest to you. I'll sometimes have students walk or even stand in front of me trying to find a seat or trying to get their favorite seat. Well, no, that's not appropriate. That disrupts the class. So please avoid being disruptive when you come in. Not being attentive will result in being counted absent. And as I said before, students who miss class are responsible for obtaining their notes from another student, right? I just want to really highlight that. And even better is to go to tutoring. So electronics, the use of laptop computers, cell phones, tablets, e-readers, iPads, MP3 players, smartwatches, earbuds, and other such electronic devices is not allowed during class. It is just distracting to you and to other people to be trying to use one of those things. And I've been shocked before where I've had to tell people not to have earbuds in their ears while we're having a lecture, which, I don't see how you can listen to music and hear someone lecture at the same time. But in any case, important not to use those things. Appearing to use, and notice it's appearing to use. I don't actually have to see the device, but I can tell by the way someone is acting what they're doing. The first time is minus 5 points, then minus 10, and then minus 20. It doubles each time. I have had people go up to minus 20 before they realize I'm serious, and then eventually they stop. And when they did stop, their grades went up. And of course, please do make sure that your cell phones are turned off. There are some exceptions to this rule. First of all, it is okay to record a lecture. However, your recording device needs to be put up at the front of the room, right? Should not be with you in the seat because people, especially if you're using a cell phone to record, people might be confused about why you're using a cell phone in class. It just needs to be put up in front. There also might be cases where there's an emergency situation. Someone needs to contact you because you have a relative, a child, or someone in the hospital, for example. You might have a job interview where they're going to call you and they just give you a broad time. They may say, hey, we may call you between 9 and 5. So what do you do in those situations? Well, it's easy. First of all, you just tell me. You just say, hey, I've got a family member who's sick. Is it okay for me to leave my phone on so they can contact me if I need to leave? And that's fine. You just leave your cell phone on vibrate. And then when it goes off, check briefly just to make sure, okay, this is what this is, and then leave the room quietly before answering. You do that, that's fine. You can still come to class. You can still be reachable. If English is your second language, it is okay to use a dictionary function on a phone, not a computer. It has to be a phone or just a dedicated dictionary. But you have to clear that with me ahead of time, and you have to sit in the front row, right? So that's okay there. That's another exception. So disruptive behavior is anything that in my judgment distracts students or me that makes it difficult to teach. So some examples would be talking, using disrespectful or foul language, studying for another class, passing notes, public displays of affection, walking around the classroom, eating food noisily, knitting, using fidget spinners, sitting on desks, tables, putting their feet on them. You should never put your feet on a desk. Putting things away before class is dismissed. All these things are disruptive. It feels kind of silly because I think most people know not to do these things, but you do have to talk about them. For example, especially like the last one, when you put things away before you're dismissed, when everyone starts doing it, it really sounds like, it really makes a lot of noise and it's distracting. And also the other problem with it is usually people do it too early. Like there's still stuff we're talking about. Like I've had people put their stuff away 5 minutes early. It's like, we're not done with class, right? I'm not going to keep you over. Don't worry. Please just wait to put your things away. And it just communicates when people rush to put things away. It's like kind of saying, yeah, I don't really care about this class or this information. And I'm fine with people knowing that, right? So it's not really a polite thing to do. So it's better just to hold off. But basically, I think common sense is pretty much the guide here, but I should make some things clear. So for example, knitting, people may say, well, why would you even say that? Well, some well-meaning counselors tell people, hey, if you have trouble paying attention in class, you should do something with your hands like knit. And the problem is if you're knitting, you can't take notes because it requires two hands. So there's logic behind all of these things. These are usually things I've had happen in class that are disruptive. So we just need to be clear about that. So in cases where there is disruptive behavior, this can lead to a penalty to your professionalism score. I might ask a student to leave class for the day. If it's particularly egregious, I would refer to the Office of Student Affairs, and that could lead to being removed from the class completely with an F. I've never had this happen, but I have heard of it happening to other people. If I ask you to leave and you don't leave, I might have to call the police. I would prefer not to do that. The only time I've ever heard that happening is when a student came to class and was drunk and so was not using their best decision-making and so refused to leave when asked. If you're in the teacher education school or studying to be a nurse or something like that, I can also issue a disposition which will cause you difficulty if you try and actually enter that school or could lead to you being removed from it. And one thing, especially for people who are in teacher education, strangely, it's people in teacher education who are most prone to use cell phones in class. Like those are the people I most have had to tell, hey, put away your phone, which is really striking to me since they're training to be teachers. So especially if you're teacher education, I expect professional courtesy. You are going to be in the front of a classroom one day, hopefully. So, if you're not a good student, you can't really complain when you become a teacher and people misbehave in your class, right? Because you did the same thing, right? That's karma. So if you are a teacher, starting to be a teacher, remember, be the kind of student you would want to teach. So professionalism, right? Students start out with a professionalism score. And this is kind of the logic. Going to university and taking classes is part of preparing for working in a professional environment, right? You may be working in a law office, in a bank, in a school, in a law enforcement agency, lots of different kinds of places. And it's important to get in the habit of acting in a professional manner, right? Usually what determines our behavior is not conscious thought. We behave according to the habits. And if you've developed a habit of being professional, then you'll be in good shape. So if you're in the habit of being late to class, you're also going to be late to work. And when you're late to work, that really makes your boss angry. It causes meetings to be delayed. It causes lots of problems, right? So that's one reason why I'm strict about things like coming to class on time. So it's important to treat the classroom as an important business meeting in which you should participate actively. That means asking questions, for example, if you don't know the answer, things like that. That's fine. But the idea here, like I said, you're building habits for success later. So whenever something is unprofessional, that's when I can deduct points, and I'll detect points from that category first. If those points are all used up, it will lead to later deductions to your final exam. Lander University and the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have a physical or learning disability, you must contact the Lander University Wellness Center to receive reasonable accommodations. I have to stress I will not give accommodations unless a student is listed as receiving accommodations. So you have to follow the syllabus and all the rules there unless I am told otherwise by the Lander University Wellness Center and the DSS folks. So just keep that in mind. And accommodations are not retroactive, right? I can't go back and give them. So it's important if you do want accommodations but don't have them, that you deal with that with them as quickly as possible, because I will not give accommodations until they are actually listed officially. Once the Wellness Center has received appropriate documentation, your instructors will be informed of approved accommodations. They don't tell us what the issue is, they just tell us what accommodations you get. If you have an accommodation that lets you take your exam at the Academic Success Center, please do give me at least 2-day, 48-hour reminder so that I will be sure to send it over so that you can take the test there. So Lander's inclement weather policy. I encourage you not to risk your safety traveling to campus if weather conditions are hazardous and prevent safe travel. If you miss a class due to travel conditions and the university is not closed, you're responsible for all material covered in class during your absence. Whenever classes are canceled, Lander will inform TV and radio stations. In addition, information will be posted at the Lander website. So just keep that in mind. Be safe, and I'm happy to work with people if weather conditions make it difficult or dangerous to get to campus. It's my understanding that you have received extensive Title IX and anti-discrimination training, so I'm not going to go over those policies in this presentation. However, I will note that the Title IX information on who to contact if you feel your rights have been violated, all that stuff is in the syllabus that you can find on Blackboard. So I want to take a break to give you a password. The password is swordfish, right? So there will be a question on the quiz to encourage people to make sure to actually listen to the whole syllabus video that asks about that. And the password is swordfish. I choose the password swordfish because there's a great Marx Brothers movie called Horse Feathers where it's during the days of Prohibition when buying alcohol is illegal, and they're running a speakeasy, which is kind of an illegal bar, and one of the Marx, Groucho there on the left, is trying to give the password so he can be allowed into the illegal bar, and the password there is swordfish. So I also make it swordfish. That's Harpo on the right, and his big joke is he never talks during the movie. He does everything in just with physical motions. So in order for him to give the password, he actually pulls out a sword and a fish. And this is available on YouTube. I highly recommend that you watch this. It's hilarious. So now on to the assignments and grade breakdown. There are 3 exams, each worth 150 points. Then there is a cumulative final worth 200 points. So it is cumulative. It can have any information from earlier in the semester. However, I will give you a list of names and terms that can appear on the final. So it should be clear what's on there. There are then 10 Blackboard quizzes, each worth 20 points that are just review quizzes. Basically, it's just going over what we did over that week. So they're fairly simple. It's just these very simple review quizzes. I'll talk more about them later. There is also a separate ABINA quiz, and I'll talk more about that, but that is the one book that is assigned for this class, and there will be a quiz on that. That's worth 10 points. Then there is the short paper based on ABINA, and that's worth 50 points. The syllabus quiz, which is this information, that will be there as well. Then there is a video assignment that there is one day I have to miss, and so there will be an assignment related to that day. I will talk more about that in class as we get closer. And then there are 2 25-point assignments based on the study guides. I'll talk more about those in class. And then finally, there is a professionalism score worth 30 points. So do remember, if you lose all 30 of those points, they will be taken off your final exam. That gives us a total of 1,020 points. So I want to highlight, I teach on a point system, right? I grade on this point system. So a point anywhere is equal to a point anywhere else. So if you get 4 bonus points, they're the same as a point on the exam or on the assignment or wherever. I grade on a point scale. So you get 900 points, you get an A, get 800 points, but less than 900 points, you get a B, and so on and so forth. So notice that there's like 1,020 points possible, but I only grade out of 1,000. So don't try and figure your grade by dividing by 1,020 because I don't do it that way. I grade by out of 1,000. So it's easier just to add points. So grade appeals, all appeals for changes to grades must be based in writing. Email is acceptable. Individual meetings will not take place unless the written appeal is deemed sufficient. Now I want to stress, if you just have a question about your grade, please feel free to email me or to come to my office during office hours or make an appointment and talk to me. However, if you want me to change your grade, if you think I've been unfair or you deserve a higher grade for some reason, I won't talk to people unless they email me first and then with a written explanation of why they should have a higher grade. Then based on that, we'll either, if I think that the appeal is sufficient, then I will be okay with a arranged meeting, right? But you can't just come and talk to me and say, hey, you should raise my grade. I've had people try and do that, basically try to pressure me. They didn't really have a good reason. They just wanted a better grade. I have to stress, requests for individual bonus assignments, the reopening of old Blackboard quizzes, or change of grade based on such reasons as the need for a certain GPA to maintain a scholarship are unjust to other students and will therefore be rejected. So basically I have to have this policy because I'll have people who have been getting C's and D's all throughout the class. After finals are done, they'll say to me, hey, I needed to be in this class. I didn't get it. I skipped all these quizzes. Can you please reopen them for me? I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I do give bonus opportunities, but I give them to everyone. So I think that's fair. I think it's very unfair to give someone opportunities that other students do not get, especially when most of the time this is caused them by them being lazy and not doing the work, right? They didn't take the quizzes. They didn't bother to do that work. Why should I now all of a sudden just say, okay, now it's all right to go ahead and take this? I'm sure fellow other students would have done better too if they were given extra time. So why should I give this individual student extra time, right? It's just not fair to other people. So just keep that in mind. If you want to raise your grade, you need to do the work before the class is over. Once you've taken your final exam, there's really nothing that can be done. Now, I will hand out a schedule in class, and but if you want to have a quick look, it's on Blackboard. But basically, the schedule is arranged by week and broken down into day. It lists the course readings and it lists the sections of the PowerPoints. This class is broken up into different sections. Each section has a PowerPoint. Each section has a study guide. And I have in the schedule when I think those new sections will start, but I'll be announcing that in class. And sometimes we may get ahead, sometimes we may get behind. Please note assignment due dates, special dates, and dates the class will not be meeting. Those are all clearly marked on the schedule. Please also note the final exam. I'll talk more about this later, but you have to take your final when everyone else is taking the final. I don't give finals late. I don't give them early. I give them during the class, a time that they are assigned. Also on Blackboard, in addition to the schedule, you can find the syllabus, the PowerPoints, the study guides, and all that information. So if you were to go into Blackboard, this is what you would see. There's the schedule, there's the syllabus, and then there's folders. There's a folder with assignments. So these are where, if the schedule says, hey, you've got an assignment due, this is where you would find the assignment. This is where you would upload it. Whenever there's a quiz, those can be found in the quizzes folder. And then there's a section folder with the PowerPoints and a folder with the study guides. So each of these are divided into sections. So there's like a section 1 PowerPoint, and then there's a section 1 study guide, and those two things go together. So just keep that in mind. And the study guides, there's a couple assignments based on them. I give you a hard copy of that first assignment study guide, but it's up to you after that, after those two assignments, it's up to you whether or not you want to print out those study guides, up to you how you want to use them. People who get A's generally use them. So you want to be sure to use them. They are fairly long, but that's because they cover the material. Basically, I'm giving you the questions ahead of time. The questions that will be on the exams, that is. And also, I highly encourage people to print out the PowerPoints. I always do my best to get the PowerPoints up before class, and you can print them out and take notes on them. That way you don't have to spend your time like copying down the notes, copying down what's on that PowerPoint while I'm talking, because that means you're going to miss what I'm saying. So there's a lot of information that's on the PowerPoints, but there's also a lot of information that I say. So it's important. It's great to have those PowerPoints already printed out, and you can just take notes on what I'm saying, pay attention to that. So the Blackboard quizzes generally open on Friday and are due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. Sometimes usually if there's like a day off or something, I will delay a quiz so people don't get confused. But generally they open on Friday and are due by 11:59 p.m. Sunday. These are focused on the information for a particular week. So quiz 1 will be on the information we covered in week 1. Quiz 2 will be on week 2. So it's not connected to section, right? It's connected to week. It's basically the idea of this is to help people review continuously. The quizzes are 5 minutes each. They're 5 questions. They're open note but not open friend. Please do them on your own, right? If you have your friend helping you to do them, you're not really learning the material, and you're not checking to see if you're getting the material, right? If you fail these quizzes, that means you're probably not going to do well in the exam. And the quizzes aren't worth much, but the exam's worth a lot. Please note there's 2 makeups for forgotten quizzes or for technology problems, right? So if you do just forget to take a quiz, or if your computer cuts out in the middle, I will reopen the quiz for you, give you an extension of like a day twice, but you have to let me know within 24 hours of when the quiz closed. So you can't just, 3 weeks after a quiz is due say, hey, look, can you reopen this quiz for me? No, it has to be immediate. So you have 24 hours after the quiz closes to inform me I forgot, or, I had technology problems, and then I'll reopen the quiz for you up to 2 times. So assignments should be submitted by deadline noted in the schedule and in doc or docx format. Assignments uploaded in an unreadable format will receive a -2 penalty and will not be graded until submitted in a readable format. So people need to make sure that when they upload their assignment, I can actually read it. I can't grade an assignment I can't read. I have a video in the assignments folder over how to submit an assignment on Blackboard if you've never done that. But basically after you submit it, you should be able to read it yourself. If you can't, I can't read it. There are -2 points if turned in on the day an assignment's due, but after the time. So if the assignment's due before class, you turn it in after class, it's -2 points. And then it's -5 points for each subsequent day late. Review assignments, there's 2 review assignments, which are based, and I'll talk more on these in class, but they're based on like the section 1 and 2 study guides. Those will not be accepted after the first exam. You got to get those in before the first exam because they cover the material from the first exam. Now, the ABINA and the Important assignment, that will not be accepted after the Friday before finals week. So I'll take that fairly late, but it will not be accepted after the Friday before finals week. So course readings, this class only has 1, ABINA and the Important Graphic History. The 2nd edition, you can get the print version, you can get the electronic version. It does not matter to me. You need access to a version. It is a required text, and by that I mean there is an assignment and a quiz based on that text, so you want to make sure you have it. You're responsible for getting your own access to a text, right? You can share with a friend, that's fine. I might be able to put a copy or 2 on reserve at the library, but it will be on 3-hour reserve, so you can't actually leave the library with it. It's much better to actually just get your own copy or to share with a friend. So my policy on exams, these are based on the lectures we watch in class, the videos we watch in class, and ABINA and the Important Men. They will consist of multiple choice matching and triad short answer questions. When we get closer, I will discuss what a triad short answer question is. It's not difficult. Basically, I just give you 3 names that we've talked about in class, and you have to identify who they are and how they connect and why they're important. My exams do not use Scantrons. I despise Scantrons. They make me nervous just looking at them, so I don't use them. I give you an exam that you will write on. Students who do not take an exam without prior permission will receive an F. So if you just don't show up for the exam, you'll get an F on the exam. Upon a student's request and explanation via email, a makeup exam may be allowed with or without penalty. So it just depends, So if you're in a car wreck on the way to the exam and miss it, yeah, I'll probably give you the exam without a penalty as long as you take it right away, provided you weren't hurt in the car wreck. But if it was something that was under your control, I may allow you to retake it, but there would be a penalty, right? Because you're getting extra time to study that other people are not. But it is important that you take the exam with the rest of the class. Working, traveling, unless on an official land or business, other such reasons are not acceptable grounds for retaking an examination or taking one early. Saw people who will say, I want to go on this family trip, so I want to take the exam early. I'll say, well, that's unfortunate. No, school is important. Look at the schedule. I've given you a schedule. Make sure that you are that you're scheduling your vacations or things around that schedule. People who don't invariably do worse. And that just shows how their priorities are in the wrong place, right? If you're thinking, oh, what can I want to take the exam early so I can go on this trip. Well, no, you're probably going to do bad on the exam because you're not going to be prepared for it. In any case, please do check the exam schedule, including the final exam, before making travel plans. So make sure that you won't be missing an exam. If you have travel plans that can't be changed, I would encourage you to drop the class. Changes to syllabus. I reserve the right to make future revisions to the syllabus. So how do you do well in this class? First of all, it's important to review the study guide before class so you know what I will be talking about, right? If you go into class knowing, hey, we're going to be talking about the French Revolution today, that's going to help you better understand what we talk about. And if you understand the questions I'm going to be asking, that will also make things more clear. One thing I have to stress, when I make the study guides, I'm looking at the PowerPoints. When I make the exams, I'm looking at these study guides. So there's a very clear connection between what we talk about in class and what's on the exam. So if you fill out those study guides, if you review them before class, you're going to have a really good possibility of knowing what's going to be on the exams and knowing how to answer it. So review the study guide before class, print out the PowerPoints, bring them to class, take notes on them. You can set it to print out 3 slides to a page, for example, to save paper, but that is a good investment to print those things out. People do better when they do so. Then after class, on the day that class ends, don't do this all at once. Don't try and do this a week after class. Fill out the study guides. So here's the key thing. If you can answer the study guide questions based on your notes, that means you're taking good notes. It means you understand what's going on in class. But if you can't, that means you need to fix things. Because if you can't fill out that study guide and do well in the study guide, you won't do well in the exam. So it's important to fill out those study guides each day after class. And if there's something you don't understand, bring it to the tutor. Bring it to me before or after class or during office hours. It's better to go to the tutor first because they get paid more and you're helping out a student. But those are the options available. Once you get those study guides filled out, review them, review your notes frequently. If you try and cram, especially with a class with a lot of information like this, you're not going to be able to remember it. You have to review frequently. Go to free tutoring, especially if you miss a class. Don't just look at the PowerPoints. Go to free tutoring. If you're not sure what to do, bring the study guide and go over the study guide and the PowerPoint with the tutor. I highly encourage you to use the Blackboard Quizzes as a diagnostic as well as the study guide. So if you find that you're struggling with the study guides, you're struggling with the Blackboard Quizzes, come talk to me and we can think of ways to help you do better. But the key thing is, if you have problems, deal with them early. And I can tell you, in these classes that I teach, these 100-level world history classes, a lot of students get A's. There's a lot of people who get A's. There's also a huge number of people who get B's, but there's also students who will get a D or an F. And the key difference is who does the work. If you invest the time, you print out the PowerPoints, take notes on them, fill out the study guides, get help when you're not sure of something, review that stuff frequently, this class is an easy A or B. Right? And that should be at least the B's, the minimum grade you want to be shooting for in order to try and keep your scholarships and get into professional schools and things like that. All that being said, good luck, and I look forward to seeing you in class.